Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to what I believe is going to be the first of many sort of fireside chats between me. I'm Katherine Stone. I'm the CX analyst here at the CX Foundation. We are absolutely thrilled today to be joined by Charlie Mitchell, who is the latest addition to the CX Foundation team. He's a familiar face to many, a very respected voice in this space. So I'm here today to introduce Charlie to you all, really reintroduce you since most of you know him quite well already. So Charlie, why don't you tell us a bit about your position here at CX Foundation, a little bit about your professional background, and really any other things we think you should know about you.
Excellent. Well, thanks for that intro, Katherine. And what do you need to know about me? I guess that I've been, in the space for about 10 years now, writing about call centers at first, but then expanding more broadly into customer experience. And my previously worked for 4 years as leading editorial at CX Today. But when I stepped down from there, I sort of reevaluated and I thought, what do I really want in a customer experience platform and a publication? And that question's been on my mind. And over the recent weeks, I've been speaking to a lot of people in the space. And I think there's an opportunity maybe for not just, we seem to have journalists and analysts, but what if we bring those together and we produce analyst level content, but with journalist level, with journalist level content with analysts insight. That's what I meant to say. And that opportunity really excites me. I've seen what yourself, Katherine, what you've been doing and Ruben's been doing with the CX Foundation. I'm super excited to be part of that. And over the next couple of weeks, we'll start ramping up content, and we've got lots of great stuff to share with everybody too.
Yes, and we're very honored and thrilled to have you join us, Charlie. You're a wonderful addition to the team, in addition to just being a hot commodity in the CX space in general. So without further ado, we're going to give you all the conversation that we know you came for, which is just kind of Charlie and I chatting about what we perceive to be the biggest customer experience trends of 2026. And Charlie is going to kick us off with that first trend. So take it away. The spotlight's all yours.
Yeah, so what I will say, we had this idea for this conversation based on an article that I put out last week. And I just spoke to quite a few analysts within the space and just asked them, what do you hope to see happen in 2026? This might be a little bit hopeful, some of these trends that we're going to talk about. But I think there's some really good stuff in there. And one that I'm really hopeful about is that we're going to maybe finally stop equating contact center with customer experience, because customer experience means so much more than that. Sales, marketing, commerce, and so forth. And I don't necessarily think it will be some sort of great epiphany that CX leaders have. I think it's largely going to come down to sort of AI sort of illuminating new opportunities sort of within shared data sets. So for instance, if you have a contact centers and a sales team's conversational data, how can brands maybe combine those to unlock new cross-sell and upsell opportunities? And previously, you could have done that maybe 5-10 years ago with a speech analytics system that you sort of trained on both sets of vocabularies, but now you can analyze all those conversations using the same tools. So I think as brands maybe start taking advantage of some of those opportunities that are out there, we can start to think about customer experience much more broadly and not just as another synonym for customer service. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that one as well, Katherine.
I completely agree with you. And, people will always, especially like lay people, everyday people that don't work in this space, people know the term contact center. They have less of a clear definition on customer experience. So I'm also hoping that we as analysts can clarify that to the masses, as we might say, this year. But I think another reason for the terminology shift, and I will talk about this in another one of my videos, is this push for complete unification and also tech stack consolidation. Executives, enterprises are sick of the application switching. They're sick of the data silos. And I think they associate that with a contact center that has limited capabilities and capabilities that don't stretch as far as what a customer experience platform can do. But I do think there are a ton of new metrics that have emerged in this AI era, because you're now not just evaluating your human agents, you're also evaluating your virtual agents. And so you have to have different metrics for each and also similar metrics for each, but perhaps scored differently. So we also see the evolution, in my opinion, of what the customer satisfaction score actually means. In the past, it was on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rank your experience today? But now, given that AI powered conversational analytics can instantly analyze 100% of customer and support team interactions, right? The definition for CSAT becomes much more, I think, evolved, because sometimes when you look at unstructured data and when you look at these really micro conversational insights, you end up as an enterprise, as a business using this software, walking away with a better and even more accurate understanding of what your customer experience and customer satisfaction level is than you would have even from customer surveys, because that AI is going to pick up on things that your business didn't pick up on and that even your agents and perhaps even customers didn't pick up on. And I also think some other big new metrics that we're going to be talking about in this era are customer effort score. How hard did the customer have to try to get what they want, especially if you're putting them on with an AI agent first? You really want that low effort customer score. It's the only time when low effort is good and high effort is bad. I do think first contact resolution is a more traditional metric that's going to stick around, because it's going to measure how effective not just your virtual agents are, but how effective are those new features like in-call agent coaching or automated agent assist. How effectively are they delivering that information to their agents? Anything you'd like to add? Anything you think about?
Yeah, so I mean, there's many ways in which contact center metrics are likely to change. For me personally, I hope that as we start to automate more contacts, that will place less emphasis on metrics like containment and deflection. As we deploy, as I said, as we deploy this AI, we'll start to think about the experience it's delivering and maybe whether customer needs are truly met, and we can look at that through resolution rates, as you said, and also sentiment measures to provide a more comprehensive overview of how AI is performing and its impact on customer experience. And one measure that I really do hope we'll start to see more of is when cases escalate from AI to a human, because reporting on trends and when that happens is a great way of isolating opportunities to not only improve the knowledge content, but the data that's both supporting AI and human agents. So that's one part. But then, as you said, we also need to consider the role of AI on the human contact center agent. So some contacts that I've seen are starting to measure case complexity. So they'll tag a case as either high complexity, medium complexity, or low complexity, and actively sort of measure that mix to ensure that reps don't get too many high complexity contacts in a row, which over a sustained period could lead to definitely stress, but over a prolonged, even longer period can potentially lead to burnout as well. And while those metrics might be a little bit arbitrary for some right now, I think tracking other metrics, certainly like training time and agent compensation, will definitely become more important as time goes on. And then a final point, we think about how as contact centers start to roll out agent assist technologies, how they are interacting with those technologies as well. I think that'll be crucial. So are they
Absolutely.
are they just dismissing the notifications out of hand? Are they just sending them? So for instance, if it's like a draft customer reply, are they just hitting send without reviewing it? I think those sort of analysis about how that sort of analysis of how agents are starting to use these new AI tools will become super important.
Absolutely. Those AI adoption rates, and not just, hey, are they using AI, but which AI tools are your agents actually using, and which AI tools that they are using are actually delivering measurable outcomes and real positive results, not changing things for the worse. And of course, very quickly, we would be remiss not to talk about the importance of real-time in-conversation analytics. I think, this has sort of been covered to death, but I do think you're going to see real-time analytics becoming non-negotiable this year, but more conversation based. Like you're tracking not just customer sentiment in real time, but agent sentiment. Does the agent need to slow down? Is the agent perhaps sounding a little more aggressive than they're meaning to? How's the agent empathy score going? Is the agent saying the very specific compliance phrases that they need to in order to, protect the company from getting sued? So I'm excited to see how those evolve over the course of the year. But you brought up an interesting point that I want to kind of circle back to, and it's this idea of tracking case complexity to combat agent burnout. Because you and I we're analysts, we read all the time, and something that I'm sure you picked up on as well is a lot of agents are saying that AI has actually increased their workload in some, not all cases, that it has decreased it. And so why is that? We want to understand why that's happening, and we want to make sure that AI is efficient and not adding to somebody's workload. Because these agents now, they got to learn these new AI systems. If they don't have a unified system, they're still toggling between apps. They're switching between channels to find what they need or continue customer conversations, while also sometimes being scored automatically by AI on performance, right? So they got a lot going on. So it's no wonder that agent burnout rates are going up, and that big surprise for contact centers, agent churn and turnover rates remain sky high. So I think using AI case complexity is a great way to reduce that level of burnout. Match agent expertise with that level of case difficulty. Maybe use AI training to help agents learn how to react and respond to more difficult cases. And then you can also justify additional staffing measures or adding resources, things like automated call summaries, ticket categorization, prioritization levels. All of that makes it much easier to distribute that agent workload more evenly, which is going to reduce burnout. And I think also something to keep in mind for 2026 is this idea of interdepartmental collaboration, because quality management shouldn't just be about evaluating agents. It should be about evaluating all of your processes and all of your teams and departments together as a cohesive business, part of your business and communication strategy. And to that end, one of the trends that I want to pick your brain a little bit more on that you mentioned in your very excellent customer experience trends article, which by the way is linked right here or below in the YouTube video's description. Let's talk about your idea of IT teams sort of combining with sales and service teams, and also IT teams taking on a more prominent role in the customer experience contact center software.
Yeah, so this is a trend that's very much being led by the vendors, actually. And if we go back to May of last year, Zoom and ServiceNow actually promised to deliver an, in quotes, turnkey AI-first solution for customer service and IT support in the contact center. And then later that year, Genesys pledged to extend its shared CCaaS and CRM platform with ServiceNow to support internal help desk agents. And both of these announcements sort of showcase this beginning of a new convergence between CCaaS and ITSM, customer service and IT service. And there's also Salesforce releasing an ITSM product, which is very interesting as well. But if we think about why is this happening, I think this is because of the shared case management need that's always been there to resolve internal and external service tickets. But as we start to see IT teams playing a much bigger role in the contact center because of AI, they're perhaps realizing that employees need sort of access to information like HR policies and so forth in the same way that customers need information from their customers. And then additionally, if we think about that every service conversation generates sort of valuable signals around needs, friction points, and opportunities. If we keep treating IT service and customer service as in separate silos, we perhaps waste some critical insight into where services into where processes break down and we need support. And perhaps this trend could start to change that. So it's certainly one to keep an eye out for the future. And whether, because we know ServiceNow is really going hard in their partnerships with loads of different CCaaS vendors, I think this could definitely be a trend to look out for.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that, I wonder now, last year we know that everybody was shocked to see the C-suites and the executives and the CEOs in the room when technology decisions were being made. And for some reason, not a lot of IT teams were actually heavily involved, or perhaps were not as involved as they should have been in that technology vendor selection process. So I'm hopeful that they will play much more of a role in that decision-making process this year. We'll see, because we learned that executives maybe don't always know what to look for in an AI-powered platform, but that's not something I would ever say. But so I'm hopeful that they'll kind of take a front and center role here. But we'll see what happens. People need help modernizing their contact centers. And then also, how do you see these the contact center software itself like merging with sales and marketing tools?
Yeah, it's still going to be, you're still going to have your CCaaS system, but we are seeing the integrations of CCaaS and CRM softwares change. So I gave you the example earlier of the Unified Experience by Genesys and ServiceNow as their integration, where Genesys is technically embedding its own voice channel and routing and call controls, different technologies into CRMs. So that strategy is to embed more service data into the CRM, which then can be passed, which can then hopefully be passed through on a big CRM platform to other departments like marketing and sales. So that's definitely one trend to look out for, and in another trend to look out for in terms of the CCaaS space. Another that really interests me is the change in CCaaS pricing models, because traditionally, if we think about sort of the contact center vendors sold CCaaS based on how many seats, based on the agency count, and unfortunately, in the long run, that's going to become less and less viable because contact centers technically should have fewer seats, but will then be leveraging more AI. So they're going to be providing more services and they're going to be getting less in return. So we're seeing vendors start sort of promoting lots of different pricing models which are more sustainable. And I think probably consumption-based pricing is the biggest sort of alternative. We see AWS as a very good model here in terms of buyers pay for the minute for all of its Connect AI capabilities, whether that's agent assist, conversational analytics, AI agents, and more. And that's included without any add-ons. But with consumption-based models, there's always going to be this one drawback in that if there's a lot of flux in your call volumes and your forecast accuracy is unpredictable, it's quite low, that results in unpredictability in your billing, which the CFO doesn't really love. So then you have other new models coming to the fore.
Essentially, 2026 is going to be a year of shifts and a year of changes after just a mad dash of throwing every AI application or feature at a wall and seeing what sticks. And I think one thing that you pointed out again in your article, which again, everyone should read and share, is this idea that contact center or customer experience pricing is really changing. So can you speak to us a little bit more about how you see pricing models evolving within the contact center and CX market this year?
Yeah, this is a really interesting conversation to have because there's no one best fit model. Traditionally, contact centers vendors have sold CCaaS based on agency count, but in the long run, technically, if we are automating more and more contacts, that becomes less and less viable because contact centers should have fewer seats, and yet they're leveraging more AI. So you're providing more services, yet getting less in return from the perspective of the vendor. So we're well in the process of seeing new pricing models come to the fore, and it's going to be fascinating to see how vendors continue to pivot. I think the most common alternative model to seat-based pricing is consumption-based pricing. AWS is an example of a company that does this really well. So its buyers can sort of pay by the minute for all of its AI capabilities. So agent assist tools, conversational analytics, AI agents, all included without any add-ons. There's just one drawback in the consumption model is that if there's a lot of flux in your AI usage and call volumes, and so if your forecast accuracy is particularly low, that can create a lot of unpredictability in the billing as well. And CFOs typically don't like that. So then you have other types of models, coming to the fore. So Genesis is a great example. It has like a tokenization model. So with this, you can maybe so that's on top of a traditional seat-based model. You can pay for AI tokens. So you can maybe start piloting different types of AI with those tokens, so test the impact and whether it delivers bang for its buck, and then you can more cautiously scale your AI. And for the more cautious enterprise, that might be the way to go, which a lot of Genesis customers are. You then have sort of models like outcome-based pricing, and that's Zendesk is a great example of a firm that does that. And that's really great from the perspective you only pay for your AI once it delivers value. But defining those outcomes, that can be quite a tricky negotiation, a tricky conversation to have. So
agreeing on that with the vendor.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great type of model though. And if Zendesk can get that right, and if they bring new dashboards to the fore, which clearly shows those outcomes that companies have agreed on, that's potentially a good model. And then one final model that's really caught my eye is sort of a flat rate pricing model where companies agree with their providers at the start of the contract how much they're going to pay over the course of that contract. And Glia, which is a rising CCaaS brand, is very popular in the financial services space. It does this, and that can be that sort of you pay and then it's a complete open buffet, all you can eat for various AI services and features. It's great for brands that are very confident that they can scale AI quickly, and they can save a lot of money through that. But if you're not so confident that you can scale up, that potentially isn't the best model for you. So as I said at the start, there's no best pricing model yet. It's down to the individual contact center, but their decision on which CCaaS platform to go for will increasingly come down to the pricing model, I think. And they'll consider how much flux is there in their call volumes and their confidence in scaling AI as well. I think those are the two main factors, but there's lots to consider there.
Yeah. And I think also another thing that I would perhaps caution is not the right word, but I would urge enterprise buyers to negotiate this carefully, let's say, is this concept of interaction-based pricing. You better be very clear on what constitutes an interaction before you sign anything. Is it just one conversation on one channel? It shouldn't be. It should be from start to finish. When that issue is resolved, that should count as one interaction. In my mind, I'm sure the vendors will disagree, but I would say really negotiate and define clearly what an interaction is if you're going to go that route. Otherwise, you're going to, as you said earlier, get that sticker shock when you get that bill. And we certainly don't want that. Yeah. But lots of great points. And it'll be interesting to see what types of companies are attracted to what type of pricing models as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it's with pricing, it's always negotiation as well. I think that's a key point to remember. Beyond CCaaS and to any enterprise vendor, the price that maybe they advertise isn't the best price that you can get.
Yeah, exactly. And I have a question for you. I'm curious your thoughts on this too, because I haven't decided and I'm not sure. Do you think that contract lengths will change as well? Like, do you think that companies now, because of the speed of evolution or the pace of innovation of AI in particular, will be less likely to sign, let's say, a multi-year contract with a vendor because they might get a better deal or a more advanced system somewhere else? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's been a key topic ever since the shift to the cloud, isn't it? So yes, but I think the decision that contact centers make now is more important than the one that a lot of them made 4 years ago during the pandemic, when they thought we need to move to the cloud to facilitate remote working. We've seen a big trend before in what I call COVID contracts. So vendors that, brands that moved to CCaaS, as I said, to facilitate, but then they signed 3 or 4 or 5 year contracts, and now they're looking to sort of move away from them. But they do at the same time, if they're going to start automating lots of different contacts, this decision and how many different layers of AI they'll add is now they're going to create something that's much more customized than what they did then. So now it's a more important it's an especially important decision that they have to make, and that's a lot of pressure. But to go actually back to our previous conversation, we're seeing IT take the lead way more in contact center buying decisions, and that collaboration between IT and contact center leaders, it's going to be crucial, because if we think about what IT used to be in the contact center, it was just an offshoot. Contact centers were hard, doing telephony and voice and phone numbers. And then the whole system of on-premise technology was optimized within an inch of its life, and CIOs didn't want anything to do with that. Now the script is completely flipped, and they recognize the opportunity of AI in the contact center. So more and more, it's a collaborative decision when you buy a CCaaS solution. Before, maybe the customer service director took the decision. Now it's your IT leader, it's your combined with the service director. Also, marketing might want to get involved in that as well. And we should more and more look left and right at what technologies sales and marketing are also leveraging. Because if marketing is using Adobe Experience Cloud, for instance, maybe they're already leveraging a virtual agent, which we can use in customer service too.
Yeah. And I mean, I think because of AI, we're in an era of upskilling really across the boards, right down to the C-suite. AI adoption starts at the top. So a lot of these executives have struggled over the past year to really familiarize themselves with AI. And with that, I think you're also going to see IT leaders and IT teams responsible for things like model training, prompt engineering, AI monitoring, and, these data pipelines that are feeding into AI. And that's going to need architecture and governance, but that's a whole other conversation. But you're going to see really this emergence of this new role, as you mentioned in your piece, of this strategic technology partner. What is that going to look like? And that'll be interesting to see how that evolves in 2026. And when we're talking about upskilling, let's talk about agent upskilling, especially when it comes to empathy, what we would refer to as soft skills. How do you perceive that shifting in 2026?
Yes. So I think the point that I made in the article was that there's a temptation to just focus on, when we're automating conversations, just to focus on automate everything that we can.
Yeah.
Yet there's a big conversation that should be had about what should we be automating, because sure, there might be something that we could easily automate. However, if that's a highly emotive issue for the customer, that probably should be going through to a human agent that can deliver real empathy and real reassurance. Because yes, a new AI type of agent can relay an empathy statement, but it's not really going to mean much, and you're going to build a big sort of empathy debt within your customer base. So we should think about orchestration and which type of contacts should be going through to AI agents, not just everything we can, but what the experiences are we actually going to deliver. And if we put more and more sort of heavy contacts onto agents, again, we may risk burnout. There's a recurring trend here.
Yeah, for sure.
But it means, I think the point that I was trying to make was that they need to have more support and more just emphasis on training about, okay, if this contact's going to happen, how do we react? And not for that to be mechanical, but how can we really add to the experience? How can we actively listen, but reflect back what they say, so they feel comfortable and that they're supported, so that we're not missing out on a human need. And I think that is an important discussion to have. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And also, by the end of 2026, I'm just going to put this out there, and everybody watching can just be mad about it. I don't care. By the end of 2026, I'm going to need all customer support bots, as we would call them, all these virtual agents, to provide me with a consistent and clear and obvious way to choose if I want to talk to an AI agent or if I want to escalate to a live agent. Because I don't think companies, contact centers, support teams, whatever you want to call it, have quite understood or grasped how important the autonomy of customers to choose whether or not they talk to an AI agent or a real person is. And by the way, these customers, if they can't get a real person, they are gaming the system. They know that if you say the F word 20 times in rapid succession, or if you say things to the AI agent like, I am angry, I am so upset, sometimes I will get on the phone and just repeat the word representative 20 times. It works. It transfers me to a live agent. Now, wouldn't it just be more efficient if I could have just clicked talk to a live agent? Again, when you talk about increasing your contact volumes, it does become a little bit trickier for enterprises to determine what actually gets sent to a real person and what doesn't. Again, that's why case classification and prioritization levels are so important. Also, why it's so important to unify all your data, because you don't want to make your best customer have to fight to talk to a real person. You need to be able to identify that that's them immediately. But I do think like it's not just about a smooth handoff from virtual agent to human agent this year. That was last year. Now we're about options right out front. It's not enough to give customers the option to choose their channel. That is very old school. That's very old news. I can choose whatever channel I want to talk to a customer support team. What I can't choose that I want to see is whether or not I have the ability to talk to an AI agent or a real person. So please, contact centers, my God, get this right this year. I'm begging you. But also, let's talk about something that you've mentioned that, frankly, I haven't heard anybody else talking about. So I think we're going to call this one the Charlie Mitchell special. And this is this idea of, what did you call it? Machine agents, AI agents talking to other AI agents. Like, tell me about that. It's fascinating. Let's get into it.
Yeah, so machine customers, it's an interesting topic. And we first saw this with Google Duplex almost like not a decade ago. Well, actually, 8 years ago, when Duplex first came out, and customers could use that service to schedule dinner reservations, to make bookings and that sort of thing. But Google took that away a few years ago with the promise of coming back with something better. And last year they released a solution that really a feature on their search engine, which really caught my interest. This is an experimental feature, but it was called Ask For Me. And Ask For Me essentially gives search engine users an AI agent that calls businesses on their behalf. So right now, that's only available, as I said, as an experimental feature to certain users, and it currently only calls nail salons and mechanics. However, in the future, exactly. In the future, it does sort of raise the possibility of my customer AI agent talking to your business's AI agent to complete customer service tasks.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that this idea of the digital twin is also kind of goes hand in hand with that idea. And we're going to see how companies respond to that this year, and also see if consumers want AI agents making decisions on their behalf. I'm interested to see how that goes. And I'm hoping that I can score some freebies off hallucinations or things that don't quite go as planned. We'll see. But, there's a lot of things that we didn't get to discuss in this conversation, which is why we decided to make this a little bit more of a recurring series. So we have some ideas for some things that Charlie and I are going to talk about on future episodes of this. But also, if there's something that you want to hear us talk about, if there's something you're curious about as a viewer, as a vendor, as an enterprise buyer, as just a random person on the internet, let us know. And once again, please join me. If you haven't congratulated Charlie or welcomed Charlie to the CX Foundation, please join me in celebrating him. Please join me in sharing and going through his work, because his perspective is very valuable and very much sought after, I might add, but we got him. So Charlie, thank you for joining us. Thank you for discussing these 2026 CX trends with us, and stay tuned for the next one. Also, everybody, I'm seeing a lot of people are watching the CX Foundation's YouTube channel and videos, but not subscribing to it. If we could remedy that by hitting the subscribe button right here and clicking that notification bell to make sure that you are the first to know when we upload a new video, I think that would be an excellent way to start off your 2026 right. So, Charlie, tell the people goodbye. Anything you want to say, one final nugget of wisdom you have for us?
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, actually, to your point on digital twins, I think that is another, not for 2026 perhaps, but in the future, if you're in marketing, for instance, testing a campaign against certain AI personas of your customers, seeing what works before you send something out, testing sales pitches against an AI agent, potentially in the future testing different types of service solutions against AI, your digital twin. That's another trend, but I'm not going to go into any more details. As you said, people can check out the article, and it was
We'll
great
save it for the next
conversation,
episode.
Katherine. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Charlie, and we'll see you next time, and we'll see you all next time too. Wishing everybody a wonderful rest of the week, and get out there and enjoy yourself.
Absolutely. Thanks, Katherine.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Charlie.